Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Akibatun lil mustaqim. Wala hufwana ila ala dalimin. Inani otay subhanahu wa ta'ala amtanani wa shukri. Wa Muhammadan huwa sayyidina matbubana inhu kana nabiyan rasulan. Salawatu Allah ta'ala wa salamu alayhi. My dear brothers and sisters, I will continue here with the intentions, pursuit of something which we left off on the last episode. Here we have one important aspect which I'll get to, and I'll spend most of my time on that because others are more self-explanatory. And what the scholars have said and the fatwas issued in reference to this particular type of travel, I leave it up to the brothers and sisters to make up their own mind because they have to account for this in Yom HaKiyamah. And we have been very lax as Muslims as far as travel because we think we're like everyone else. And we have Muslims traveling everywhere doing the same thing that non-Muslims are doing. And when you delve deep into this issue, we find out we're wrong and outside of the Sharia. So let me give you my venerations for my brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatul barakatuh lil ikhwani wati fi din. Assalamu alaikum mani taba huda lil ikhwani wati fi Africa, Europa, America, Asia, Kuli Makan. Halin salim bikum. Okay, brothers and sisters, we left off last time with the flight from something, and now we're on the pursuit of something. And there are 10 aspects of this that we should know and understand. And this is a combination of what subhanahu wa ta'ala is told in the Quran, plus with the Prophet ﷺ, his understanding, and then the favorite generations and the scholars of every year. And it's culminated to what has happened today, where we have our scholarship. We have very worried ulama fuqaha about the Muslim movement today. And it's very troublesome. And you see, we have Muslims moving everywhere. We have Muslims traveling everywhere. And they're doing all types of things without any regard to the Sharia of Allah Ta'ala and the Sharia of our Prophet. So we'll get into this here because we got one section of this, my brothers and sisters. It's very, very lengthy. To be honest, I could spend 2 or 3 days on it, but I broke it down. I took the notes. I broke it down to bring most of the points to you. So we'll start here with the 5th condition is to travel for trade. The proof of this is Surah 2, verse 198. And the example of this is the Muslim farmer broker. We have Muslims like here, say in Morocco. He wants to broker his dates and olives and other stone fruits. He travels, he has buyers, say in Italy. And he travels to Italy to meet with these other brokers and other farmers or some groceries chain or something who want to buy his fruits. This is approved. There's nothing wrong with that. And it is, matter of fact, it is recommended in this sense. If the Muslim is a fair trader and he brings forth good, honest crops to the non-Muslims, this is a plus for us, and this is a dawah for us as well. If we have a shady Muslim who tries to trick non-Muslims and cheat them in trade, that's bad for Islam. And we have brothers who trade in gold, diamonds, and other food products and byproducts to promote also a writer, a Muslim writer, to promote his literary works, novels, etc., to promote his Islamic State. We have say, dignitaries here in Morocco. They want to promote Morocco as looking for many different aspects for investment. Also, to recruitment for students at the university, especially at Carouine, which is the oldest university in the world. It's first university that we had that we know of, and to promote to get the recruitment for students, and we can have our brothers leave to go to United States, Europe, Asia to promote Carouine, say here in Fez, the university, famous old university, to get students to come to it. There's nothing wrong with that. Also in the mix, exchange student programs and with non-Muslim states. We have this is going on. We have that here already in Morocco, but just as a give approved travel, we have Muslims, maybe they go to come to California to set up a program with UCLA, say for instance, they come to meet the dignitaries of UCLA, and then they, or say Harvard University, whatever the situation may be, and he comes there to set up a system to where they can have this exchange student. Medical trainings, nursing, etc., medical seminars in Western states designed to bring up to speed Muslim medical practitioners and their staff. This is okay too as well. We have Muslims, say we have doctors, maybe there's a new technique in surgery for brain surgery, or with the viruses that are going on in the last 3 years, maybe we have some new techniques or new ways to fight this. And so they call for practitioners, say in the Muslim world, for instance, to come to Washington, D.C. for a seminar. This is approved. So this is the self-explanatory to a certain degree. But you remember something, brothers and sisters. Everything is predicated on this, on the Islam of that person. If the person is a weak Muslim, which we do have this, it's not recommended in the sense because he is not an ambassador for Islam. He presents the wrong type of Islam, because if a Muslim comes over and say he goes to this seminar that's dealing with the viruses, COVID-19 and all these other variants and so forth and so on. Here he shows up in Washington, D.C., and everybody's introduced and so forth. And then when there's break time, or say lunchtime, they go get ready to eat inside they got lunch and everything for all the dignitaries. He's drinking wine and beer. See, or he's eating pork and so forth and so on. This is not what we're talking about here. We want Muslims to travel. We want Muslims to travel as Muslims, not to be disbelievers on 3 or 4 days that they're there for this seminar, and then come back to be Muslim when they come back here to Morocco or Tunis or to Egypt or Mauritius or whatever the place may be. We don't want that. So everything's predicated on that. So that's self-explanatory. That's not much we have to talk about. Number 6 is the pursuit of learning. This one is a little tricky in some sense too, because reason why this is because we have a lot of Muslims leaving for learning, and they go into the Western world, especially the United States, for receive their education. The problem is many of them come under the visa program in the United States, and then they overstay their visas, and they stay in the United States illegally, or they end up getting a job inside the United States, and so forth and so on. All these kind of problems are surfacing a lot over the last 10, 15 years. So receiving education and returning the benefits to the Islamic State is important. If Morocco sends, say, our brightest medical students, say there's 30 of them, and we send them to medical training, say in Massachusetts, okay, in Boston. They go to Boston University, we say, for instance, and we want them to receive their training and then come back home to benefit the Muslim population. We don't want them staying in Boston so they can collect a check that's 5 times more than perhaps what they'll get here. We don't want that. And this is not why we don't want to send Muslims over to Western universities if they're going to do this. But we have a lot of this. But it's not as a precursor to residing in non-Muslim states. We have this where we have some of the most weak Muslims who have inside their heart their niyah, their intention. We go back because this is about intentions. Their real intentions is to go to Boston University and to stay there, to finish, graduate, and get hired. And this is what they and then not to come back here with their learning. And this is a severe problem that we're facing today. And a lot of it is because of fault of the Muslim states as well, because the Muslim states are not paying too much attention to their brightest students, and they're not nurturing them and protecting them. And then when they come back from this training, they're not paying them well enough to keep them here. And it presents a fitna for Muhammad, who graduated from Boston University. He's got a medical degree, say for instance, and he's got headhunters coming to him daily. They're telling him, we're going to pay you 150, 200,000 US dollars if you work in this 500, Fortune 500 company. He calls back to Morocco, or he calls back to another Muslim state, and he asks about job opportunities, and they'll tell him, we have nothing for you. But if you want to work in security, or if you want to work in, in a store or something, we got that for you. This is what many of them have complained about. And if you look at some of the YouTube, some of it is very sad. We have some of our brightest Muslims who have gone, and they when you ask them, well, why didn't you come back? They'll tell you, you know what they offer me? They offer me some small job in a store, or they said that I can work in a hospital, but I'll be doing this. I'll be paid basically peanuts. And we have to change this. We have to change this aspect because we've lost too many Muslims to the Western world. And that's not a plus for us, that's a minus for us. Or to get hired in that non-Muslim state and live worldly life. We have Muslims doing that because they know and say, look, I go to Boston University, I graduate, I know I'm going to command a lot of money, I'll get hired and whatnot. Which again, their niyyah has already been to go live around the disbelievers, to make money and live a worldly life. And we know that. Now we're going to get into the most difficult subject of all of this. And this is the seventh condition. Travel to see exalted sites and places. This is where we have serious problems in the Muslim world. Because we have a lot of Muslims who are traveling as though they're non-Muslims. And they're doing, again, all sorts of things. They're going everywhere. And many of them are taking, like a siesta, I guess. They come to California. They say, you know what, since I'm here, I'm not a Muslim here for these 2 weeks. I won't pray. I'll eat, I want to eat American hot dogs. I want to eat, pork ribs and so forth and so on. I want to do this. And I'm a young man too. If I see nice looking girls, I want to go and date a girl or something, or have a girlfriend for 2 weeks or something. This is what's happening, and we have that a lot today. And it is perplexing, and the scholars are talking about this as I speak today, about these conditions, and they put down some stringencies about this. But Muslims today are not listening to that, and they don't care. They do what they have to do. But we'll get into this. Our Prophet ﷺ talked about this tourism and travel. And it says here, just as it says, let no travel be undertaken except to the 3 masajids. Now, see, this is, it's pretty pointed, but then it's been broken down in tafsirs about many different things. But we'll get into the things about the masjids and so forth and so on. But the Prophet ﷺ was trying to make sure that the conditions that the Muslim traveled was geared towards Islamic, empowerment, betterment, and invitation to Islam, not to go there, and just to play around and look around and eat and so forth and so on. This is not what traveling Islam. We don't have that. We don't do that, and it's against the Islamic principles. Now, the concept of travel and tourism in Islam, as you see here, I got it written in Arabic too as well. And so the concept of travel and tourism in Islam is just that. It's pretty stringent, and it's stringent for a reason, brothers and sisters, because we are seeing, and the Prophet ﷺ and our favorite generations and our favorite scholars for many generations have seen difficulties, and now in this day and age it's off the charts, and we have to do something to corral our brothers and sisters in, because brothers are leaving to go everywhere now, and they're doing everything as I said, and they're not minding the Sharia, and they say, look, I'm not doing nothing wrong. I decided I want to go to New York City, and there's a restaurant here, and there's a bakery here that I heard about, and I want to go. They have a wine festival, and I want to do this. These are the type of things that are happening, and we have Muslims who are not good ambassadors traveling, and it has to be perplexing for non-Muslims, because they see everything on TV, they hear everything on TV, they see on TV and they hear things on TV, they hear people talk, they even know some Muslims. Suddenly, here this family goes to quote unquote a wine tasting festival, and there's Muslims there in kufis, drinking the wine and eating cheese. We know this to be because there's a thing on YouTube I saw, and I was shocked at that. And they filmed the Muslims. There was two Muslim men who was sitting there. They had suits on, but they had kufis. And they didn't show their faces, but they were Muslims. And they were there sipping the wine and eating cheese. That's what we're talking about here. And we have to do something to crowd that in. And the comments that were made were not complimentary about Muslims, because they see these guys, what they were doing. The Muslim must review his intentions, brothers and sisters, and actions when desiring to sightsee in non-Muslim lands, because it is very, very critical, because non-Muslim lands are no joke. It's filled with things that is designed to take you away from the remembrance of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. These intentions and the follow-up action on his intentions for tourism. Now, he has to understand what he's allowed to do in going in this endeavor. We are Muslims. We have rules and laws if we're going to travel to the land of disbelievers. Okay? So we have to understand that, but most Muslims don't even care. They just, and they think that it's wide open, when in fact it is not. And this is one reason why I'm glad about the intentions they talk about this issue. There's no free-for-all tourism in Islam. In non-Muslim states, it is governed by the Sharia, Allah Ta'ala, and instructions by our Prophet, ﷺ, which differs from all other concepts. We have many different religions, many different people who don't believe in anything. They travel and they do what they want to do. Muslims are not governed like this. We still have laws that we must follow in the Sharia and in the Sharia of our Prophet, ﷺ. We just can't do what we want to do. And I'll get more into this here, inshallah. The scholars have contended that meager tourism in non-Muslim lands and sightseeing has nothing to do with Islam. This is where the consensus is. Now, I want you to understand this. The scholars have said that meager tourism in the lands of disbelievers and sightseeing have nothing to do with Islam. In other words, traveling and sightseeing without knowledge. This is what they're talking about. And they give you examples of this. The meaning here, visiting sites provide the Muslim no educational benefit. Because remember something, the travel for the Muslim is based upon learning and education and dawah, okay, invitation to Islam. This is what we and there's other conditions I will get into that the Prophet ﷺ talked about. I'll get into that. But visiting sites that, you go, person say, I'm going to go to LA because I want to go down the Hollywood Boulevard, and I want to see all the people. I've seen movie stars. I want to see this. I want to see the Walk of Fame, all these type of issues. And they want to do this. It's prohibited to do that, brothers and sisters. It's prohibited. I'll get more into that here, inshallah, ta'ala. And what could strengthen his faith? The going to meager travel does not strengthen the Muslim. In many cases, weaken him. The niyya to visit fancy, famous restaurants. We have Muslims doing that. We have Muslims spending exorbitant amount of money, their airplane ticket, hotel stay, just so they can go to famous eateries, famous coffee places, famous pastry places, famous dinner that cost, 300, 400 US dollars just to eat some fancy fish, crayfish, and an overpriced salad, and so forth and so on. They travel for that. And then so they can come back home to the Muslim country and say, this is what I did. I went over here and did that. We have this, and this is not that. As a first priority, this, again, the Muslims are coming to non-Muslim states as a first priority, all the things that they should not be. Going to see Hollywood, going to New York City, to Fifth Avenue, so they can shop in expensive stores and stuff like this. These are things that Muslims are doing. We have Muslims doing this all over the place. Coming to New York, coming to California, and so forth and so on. Coming to Washington, D.C., especially coming to see the White House. These are prohibited, brothers and sisters. It is prohibited. And let me give you a caveat about this. If something happened to the White House, Subhanahu wa ta'ala puts his punishment on the White House, then that site now is approved. You say, how is that? Because we'll get more into this, because there's a condition about things like this. But as the White House stands today, the Muslims are not to go as a first priority to go visit there to see how President Obama, where he stayed, or to see how President Trump, what he did, or go to to see what the insurrection occurred, and so forth and so on. Muslims is prohibited from doing that as first priority. They cannot do it. The Islamic worldview, okay, you see, is a tourism is also connected to knowledge and learning, as I said, promoting Allah's religion. This is ours. This is what we do. When we go out away from other Muslims and we go into the land of disbelievers, or we in places where disbelievers, we are ambassadors for our faith. We have to promote. We have to gain knowledge, or they get knowledge from us, and learning, and so forth and so on. This is our conditions about traveling and the tourism and so forth. Again, tourism is not to be looking at certain things, but we'll get into more conditions as we go on, because I'm trying to set a pattern to let you understand that you are a Muslim. Just because you leave the Muslim state to go to France, that doesn't mean that you're not Muslim anymore. You're still responsible for the Sharia Allah Ta'ala, irrespective about what's happening in France or what's happening in the United States. You're still Muslim when you leave the Muslim state to go to the non-Muslim lands. You must adhere to the Sharia irrespective of that. Okay. The greatest journeys were undertaken in the beginning of Islam with the aim of seeking and spreading knowledge and being ambassadors for the Allah's religion. Think about this. Do you remember when the Prophet ﷺ sent the messengers to distant lands to invite him to Islam? You remember that? One went to Egypt, one went to Byzantium, I think it was, now I'm trying to remember that. Another one went to present-day Iran. And I think it was 4, they said. They went to Habasha. They went to Habasha as well. So it was 4. And so Habasha is Ethiopia. So this was the beginning of these undertaking of seeking and spreading knowledge and being ambassador for Allah's religion. And the greatest journeys were undertaken at the beginning. This is the aim. Again, not to have Muslims to go to Byzantium to go look around so he can buy things and ornaments and so forth and so on. That's not what we do as Muslims. Since the Western concept of this is done on whims and fancies, it's true. The non-Muslim basically goes on tourism based upon whims and fancies. They're looking for thrill moments, good moments, feel good moments, and so forth and so on. And they go and they spend a lot of money on different things that doesn't provide them anything, because only give them feel good moments, and then when they leave, they've already spent 5,000, 6,000 US dollars for a few good moments. In Islam, this is a waste. This is what we believe. But after the tour, he falls back into the same lifestyle as before. He left his confines, okay, to go to do this on whims and fancies. But when he finishes this thing, he spent all his money. He comes back now to the Muslim state, say, for instance, and the same problems he have. So he's looking for escape, and escape just didn't provide him anything, because he's coming back to the same problem and whatnot. And the person is out of a lot of money too, because it takes a lot of money to travel, especially distant lands like space from Africa to United States. It's not cheap. And by the time you talk about hotel and so forth, you know how expensive the United States. This is a very, very expensive endeavor. The educational impact from this sort of terrorism doesn't strengthen the Muslim and his faith. In many instances, it weakens it. We know that. The Muslim he goes down and sees certain things in certain places in Eastern Europe, or he comes to the United States and he goes to certain famous places and he witnesses a lot of things that he could not witness in Muslim states. And this doesn't strengthen his resolve, but in a lot of cases, he makes it weaken his resolve, and things happen, and he can, things may happen when he's there touring these places. And then when you come back, it could have a detriment effect, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala may punish him and so forth and so on. We do not know. The Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best on things like this. Explanation. Islam came to change the concept of tourism. That's right. This is what we are trying to do, and this is what we have done. We've changed the concept of tourism. It's just that most Muslims don't know this. And other modes of self-indulgence upon it, extravagant spending in it, worshiping of it. We have Muslims who prepare to go to, say, to Hollywood, California. This is what they've been planning for 2 years, 3 years, and yet they never went to Hajj. They never went to Umrah. But they've been planning 3 years to save money so they can go to California, to Hollywood. Muslims are doing that. And we know they're doing this. And they're flocking to places like this with all this money. And they make a ibadah, what you see at the bottom there, ibadah othan. This is the worship of idols. And idol worship not necessarily mean an idol in front of you or a big statue. It could be of money. It could be of a place or thing. And many Muslims plan this trip for a year, and they begin to have this worship of it, thinking of it. Okay, I think I'm looking for a hotel over here. I want to do this. And they put the worship of Subhanahu wa ta'ala to the secondary, the third condition. And they only worry about, I'm going to Hollywood, and I want to see the Hollywood Bowl. I want to see the movie the studios, and so they make this ibadatu ithani. This is an Arabic meaning, again, the idol worship, and we have this, and a lot of brothers and sisters are guilty of this, and it's a shame. And I know when they leave the Muslim state. Now, we're not talking about the most wealthy of us. Even them, it's still extravagance. And it costs a great deal of money to leave Muslim states to go, especially in the United States. It takes a great deal. It's not only just the plane ticket, it's the hotel, food, transportation, and a whole lot of other things. So it's a waste, to be honest with you, brothers and sisters. It's a waste. What happens to less grounded Muslims is the desire to undertake travel. A lot of weak Muslims do this. They're already weak in Muslim states. They have forgotten about Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgotten about them. They prepare their travel and they go. They leave their Islam, the little Islam they had, back in the Muslim state, and now they're full-fledged disbelievers in non-Muslim lands. And Preparation then completes with this remembrance, meaning they're finished essentially, because the person who does not make remembrance of Allah Ta'ala is a very, very weak Muslim, and maybe a marginal Muslim, and maybe a Muslim not at all. Because the best remembrance of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is in prayer. And then the second condition is in remembrance of the dhikr, subhanallah, subhanallah, so forth and so on. We talked about that in many classes. And when you don't do either one of them, you're in bad shape as far as a Muslim. The experience highs and lows prior to departure. Now, you know this. We have brothers and sisters, they're 3 months away from getting ready to go to Hollywood. They have high moments, they have low moments, because now this thing has become a ibadatu ithani, a worship of idol. That idol is Hollywood, and they become melancholy. Then they have exuberance where they can't wait to go see the Hollywood Bowl and the places. So they have these highs and lows. This is what we're talking about here. This is where Shaitan is dealing with them now, not Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because he sees what you want, he sees in your heart, so he walks away from you and he allows you to be influenced by Shaitan, the devil. Non-Islamic tourism engaged by Muslims features the niyya to take a vacation from Islamic tenets. We see great majority of Muslims that do this. There's no prayers. They have fraternization with women. They eat haram foods. We see this over and over again. The Muslim leaves Morocco, he leaves Egypt, and he comes into the United States, and all of the tenets of Islam are gone. And this is something what we notice, and it's caught the attention of and the ire of many of our scholars who talk about these issues. During these meaningless journeys, the Muslim doesn't spread knowledge or get knowledge. What knowledge is Hollywood going to give a Muslim? What is it going to give? Is it going to strengthen your belief in Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? That's what we have to ask. Is it going to strengthen your prayers? Is it going to strengthen the Muslim Ummah? Is this going to take, when you come back here to Fez, Morocco, after you went to Hollywood, how is it going to benefit the people here in Fez, where I live? How? You come back here and you start to talk about, you saw this, you saw that, but how is it going to benefit us? It doesn't. And we have this, and I know of a case that this goes into this. He blends into the crowds, and in most cases they hide their Islam. I know this for a fact. I saw this when I was in California as a Muslim, a new Muslim, and I went to Los Angeles, and there was some things going on. I can't remember what this thing. I saw these guys. I know they weren't from. They're not from California. I know they're not from the States at all. And when I went to go talk to the brothers, I found out they were Muslims, but they hid their Islam. And I was shocked at this, but I saw that firsthand. And this type of violation, this type of tourism violates the Sharia law. I'm giving you this, brothers and sisters, only as to give you the parameters out there. What you do and ignore, if you ignore it, is up to you. But you have to account for it in Yom Kippur, because you cannot say you did not know. Because nowadays the Muslims don't even care about what is the outstanding rulings about going out to non-Muslim lands. They don't care about that. They just do it. They go through emotions. Now, we know that the famous, our great father imams here, and he gave a concept about this. He said that the tourism, meaning the tourism that we know that the others do, not Muslims, Islamic tourism is different. And this concept is not an action of the prophets. The prophets didn't do that. When they traveled, they didn't. And we have, they traveled for a good reason. They had to do this. They had certain objectives. And the actions are of the right, or the actions of the righteous. They're not. This type of tourism, and both of these facets, This is why I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we as Muslims, we have a strict corridor, because we are the last remaining ones who are of true faith, meaning that we have a prophet who gave us something, and this is supposed to carry us to Yom Kippur. Okay, this is it. The Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said this is all. He's the final prophet. And his message is supposed to permeate around the whole world. So we have to understand that, and we have to act in accordance to that. And this is not, most of us are not doing today, because we leave and we go out to non-Muslim lands and we do things that is like those two brothers I saw in LA back in 2005. And what they were doing was not right. And, and but again, this is a problem, and I'm only pointing these things out. Note here, sightseeing in Muslim land, this is the difference. The sightseeing in Muslim lands differ quite a bit. Tourism inside your Muslim country is approved, because sightseeing in Muslim land supports the remembrance of Allah due to the call of prayer. I don't care where you go in the city, you're going to hear that there. You're going to see Muslims walking around here. You're going to see Islamic dress in place. You see masajids everywhere. You see Islamic culture everywhere. When you go eat, you see halal food. See, when you go to a restaurant, you see, and it's halal food. See, and you have etiquette, Islamic etiquette all over the place as you travel through your Muslim country or to another Muslim country. See, this is okay. But there's conditions to that too as well, and I'll get a little bit more into this as well here. One of the proofs given by the Nabi on tourism, a man came to him seeking the permission for tourism. He said, look, he came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, look, I want to do this. I want to go travel. I want to do so things. And then he said to him that the tourism of his ummah is jihad for the sake of Allah. Now, what does he mean by that? He's not talking about fighting and killing. We're not talking about this in regard. But again, the promotion of the religion, education, knowledge, and invitation. Basically, the three things, those three elements, is what what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala wants us to do, what our Prophet was asking us to do. Vis-a-vis Allah, getting education, promoting the religion, and so forth and so on. This is getting knowledge. This is what tourism means to us. And this is what the Prophet was talking about here. Now we'll get into some things here. The Sharia approved tourism. And we'll go through some of these conditions here. There's a lot more, but I broke them down into some I think is very important. Now, visiting sites where Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's punishment was rendered. Now, you are an educator. We want educators to do this. We want our learned Muslims to do this. And we want them to go to places where we know Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is punished. So those people can go there and see it, write about it, and come back and tell the story. This is approved. Visiting natural wonders of Allah, especially educators. You go and you want to see the natural wonders like the Niagara Falls. See, I'm just saying, for instance, or the Mount Kilimanjaro in Kenya, which is now a Muslim state in Africa. And you want to go and then you want to go see certain forests and so forth and so on. The difference between the Muslims is we praise Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for him to give us this. So you go there to look at the wonders of Allah, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. You do that and you do it with the right niyyah. And who returns to educate Muslim students. We want educators in particular and imams and leaders who have a great influence. We want them to talk about the wonders of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala through the earth and so forth and so on. This gives the understanding to show Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's power, his reign over the earth. And this is what we want here. This is what we talk about here. As long as the Muslim travel maintains Islamic tenets. If the Muslim cannot maintain his Islamic tenets, that tourism and travel is off limits. It's not approved. You cannot do it. if you cannot maintain that, if you know that you're coming to a place, in some state in the United States or going to the West Indies, and you can't maintain your Islamic tenets, it's off limits. You're not to go, because the Islamic tenet still takes precedence, even though you spent 20,000 US dollars or 10,000 US dollars to make all your travel and all this other stuff, but you can't practice your Islamic tenets. No, it's not approved. You cannot do it. You must not go to that place. If Islamic tenets are hampered in that non-Muslim country, there should be no travel to it. You can't go to it. If you know that you can't practice your faith in it, you don't go to that. Now, visiting Muslim brothers and fellowship with them, we encourage that. Matter of fact, I always have this thing that I'm hoping that, because the African Union said we're in the process of opening up all the borders, meaning the Muslims can travel to each other's countries, which we should be doing. And I'm looking for a day like this where I know I can say, look, you know what? Jumu'ah comes around here. I want to go pray with my brothers in Cairo, Egypt, say for instance, okay, and so forth and so on. I want to be able to do that and go fellowship with my brothers that I know there, or go to Sudan and visit my brothers over there in Sudan, and then go to the masjid with them and so forth and so on for a week, and so forth and so on. And what's good about this is you stay in an Islamic environment, so you're not in a haram environment. You go to the West, what happens? You stay in a hotel, there's nakedness, there's whoredom going on. You step outside, there's a lot of stuff going on. Especially if you go to San Francisco, you see homosexual out in the open, and you see all kinds of stuff going on. You go to New Orleans, what happened? You got peep shows, they got all this other stuff going on there. So how are you going to maintain your tenets with this type of environment? It's prohibited to go to those places. Visiting Muslim brothers and fellowship with them is a beautiful concept. You should, to establish brotherhood among the Muslims. Especially here in Africa, we should open up the borders and so forth and so on, so we can travel to each other's countries. We can travel and start to intermingle. Brothers from Algeria should be able to come over here to Maghreb here to, and to come here, say, brother say, hey man, I've been saving this money. I want to go to visit my brothers in Fez and make Jumu'ah with them. This is beautiful. This is approved. This is nothing wrong with that. Make unofficial pilgrimages or homage upon it. Now, here's the problem. We can't do these type of things. If you want to go to a Muslim state, say you want to go to Sudan, for instance, and you want to see where Muhammad Mahdi was, who was the famous Mujahid, and you want to go there, and this is your first priority because you want to go there to his gravesite. You can't do it. If you want to venerate this great Mujahid, this is not approved. Even though it's in a Muslim state, this is not approved. You cannot make unofficial pilgrimages to any places like this. You cannot. It's against the Sharia. You just cannot do it, brothers and sisters. Visiting non-Muslim friends is not recommended, because you're going to visit friends. But again, we go back to the issue of tourism in the sense of, in the eyes of Islam. It's learning, education, and invitation. Now, your friends are staunch Muslim, Christians or atheists. So what are you going there for? Even though myself, I grew up in Compton, California, and I have brothers that I've been knowing since I was 5 years old. But to travel there just to meet with them is prohibited. Can't do it. Can't do it. But travel to non-Muslim lands to visit families recommended. Moms and pops, they're not Muslims. They're old now. And they call and say, hey, please come to see us and so on and so on. You can do it. But if this travel to those lands presents perilous positions, okay, we know what you're talking about. We have people targeted by U.S. government and other Western governments, and they try to lure certain Muslims to come to it so that way they can put them on arrest or something like this. This happens frequently. So you have to ask the question and so forth about your travel, even to go see moms and pops. You're going to be very restrictive in your travel, and you go to see moms and pops, you have to be very, very restrictive and very, very careful and mindful of everything around you. because if not, you could get yourself in trouble. And we're limited as Muslims. You're in a non-Muslim country. You got to be very careful and mindful of their laws. Even though you were born there, but you left there to go back. And you went there, if your priority is to go see moms and pops, it's okay because they're your parents. But if you went there as a precursor, yeah, you go see moms and pops, but you want to go see others too as well. See, this may be a problem, and according to the circumstances, and I'll just leave it at that for right now. There's no traveling to mingle among disbelievers at ball games. This is something Muslims now decide, hey, you know what? They're starting to follow American football. Here they are in North Africa. They start to enjoy the American football. And they see the glamour, the glitz and everything of the football stadiums. And they decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to take vacation and I want to go to the Super Bowl. Can't do it. Can't do it, brothers and sisters. You can't do it. What's your learning? There's nothing learning. What's education? None. Is there invitation to Islam? No. Is there veneration of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? None. Can't do it. It's against the Sharia. Can't do it. Now, to travel to learn lessons, again, we talked about earlier, to learn how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has done to certain ones. Another of the aims of travel tourism in Islam is to learn those lessons and receive reminders, to see these things that's happened that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made punishment upon. So you can be reminded of that, okay? Of things that he did to punish people for what they've done. The command to travel about in the land appears in several places in the Quran. It's true. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has talked about that. That's what I said. And one is, again, travel. Here it is. And this is Surah 6, verse 11. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, O Muhammad, والسلام, travel in the land, see what was the end of those rejected truth. Now, he wanted the Prophet ﷺ to go somewhere to see where these people were against Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and what happened to them as a reminder. So that way the Prophet ﷺ can give the story to the companions and to the Muslim Ummah. See? And this is what we're talking about here. And then number 10 here, say to them, Muhammad, this is Surah 27, yeah. And here, travel in the land and see how has it been to the end of the mujrimun. Mujrimun in Arabic means criminals. And those who denied Allah's messenger and disobeyed Allah. This here, again, there's selected places that you should go to visit to see what happened here as a reminder to show you in disobedience to Allah, his power and what he did to those people and those who disobeyed him and those who were criminals. So the veneration of non-approved masjids, historical sites, graves of famous and infamous, grave sites of historical Muslim leaders, ulama mujahideen is not authorized. Meaning, if I'm sitting in Morocco and one of my favorite mujahid is Muhammad Mahdi there in Sudan. One of my favorite. I can't make a special trip there to go see his grave. Can't do it. Now, if I'm there and I want to go visit my brothers in Sudan and I'm staying with them and we go, and then I may say, hey, look, can we visit so I can make dua for, because Muslims make dua. And I want to make a dua for Muhammad Mahdi. We go. That's okay because I went as a secondary. First, I went there because I want to make prayer and I want to be fellowship with the brothers. Then here, I'm okay because they may take me here, they may take me over here. I may want to go see this. I may want to go see some other wonders in Sudan, especially the Nile, which you hear me rave about many, many times, and so forth and so on. So these are some of the conditions, brothers and sisters. The translation, making special trips for the aforementioned. However, the Nia was to see brothers in Islam. You visit famous messages approved. Now, you can't do this as well, brothers and sisters. You're sitting in Morocco. Suddenly, you decide now there's a beautiful mosque built, a big, big mosque, beautiful mosque that's built in Ghana. You can't go just for that. You can't go to pray in famous masjid there in Cairo. That's not, you cannot prove this. Your travel is only for that. It's not approved. You cannot do that. Even though it's a Muslim site, you cannot do that because you're putting things ahead of Allah and in Islam. You're allowing to go venerate certain things that is not approved. The Prophet ﷺ said to the three mosques, that's where we can venerate. That's where we can go see as a priority. Nothing else follows after that. There's nothing else from that. That's that. If you want to go to visit some site that's not approved, you can't do it as a primary. If you do it as a primary, it's not approved. If you do it secondary, it is approved because you want to go visit the brothers in Sudan, but Sudan's got a beautiful mosque in Khartoum. It's one of the big, massive. I love praying in it. It is so massive, and I felt real good there. I can't make a trip, a vacation, just to go to do that. I can go see my brothers, and then they know I like it, so they say, "Hey, look, Yahya, can you come on Friday? You come Friday morning." I go Friday morning over there because it's only about 4 hours trip and by plane. And then I arrive there 2.5 hours before Salat Jumu'ah. And then we go make it at the big masjid there, the big, beautiful masjid in Khartoum. Forgot the name of it. That's okay. You're all right. You're covered. But to make that trip only just to see that, cannot do that. The hadiths indicate that it's haram to undertake religious journeys, again, to other mosques or to grave sites, to tombs and so forth. This is off limits, brothers and sisters. If your first priority is to go to see these tombs, as I said before, maybe you wanted to go see a famous mujahid or a famous scholar, and you want to go to his grave site. You decide, hey, I'm going to take my family to do this. You can't do that as a first priority. You can't. You cannot go there. But if you're going and as other things to fellowship, or if you were there for some educational thing, or you're there for a seminar, and this seminar is benefiting the Muslim Ummah, it's benefiting you and your family and the Muslims in your city, or so forth and so on. It's a medical thing, a medical seminar, and you decide, hey, I'm here now. Let me go and visit the great Sheikh Islam who died over here, which is 20 miles away. You're okay. You're covered. That's okay. Visiting the masjids as the first party is not approved, as I hear me say. Moreover, you visit with brothers and family, you frequent many masjids as a secondary aim, this is approved. Again, I want to go see moms and pops. I know there's a beautiful new masjid built, say in LA, for instance. I'm there to see moms and pops in LA. I come to see mom and dad, and I say, Dad, I think I want to go and see this new mosque I heard about. So you go and you want to go pray in a new mosque. You came as a priority to visit moms and pops and family, and that's the priority. And then you go do that. That's okay. But if I spent all this money to come to California so I can go at that masjid, can't do that. That's not approved. It is even more haram to travel to visit places that are regarded as holy in other religions. Muslims are doing this. I know, especially in Thailand, such as the Vatican. We know this. And Buddhist temples and idols. Muslims are flocking there to start to see that now. It's prohibited, period. First condition or the second condition. Even if you Muslim friends that you have in Thailand and you want to go visit the beautiful, famous Buddhist temples that are made of gold and all this, no. It's off limits. You cannot do that unless it was destroyed. You understand, brothers and sisters? If it was destroyed as a reminder, the Subhanahu wa Ta'ala destroyed it as a reminder of against the Mushrikeen. You can go see that to put in your mind as a reminder, so you come back to tell the Muslims what happened to this place as a reminder of history. What happens when you have Muslimin, criminals who disobey Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. One reason for this, non-Muslims. Now look at this logic. One reason for this, non-Muslims practicing Muslims frequent their holy site. It gives non-Muslims the feeling that their sites are just as worthy as the three holy mosques. And it's true. You think about that. Here we're sitting in, there's Buddhist temples here, and there's Buddhist people all over the place. All of a sudden, here's Muslims coming with kufis. And they're going to ask questions. Oh, they come here to see here. They're, and I think psychologically they may be saying, okay, our places are just as worthy and just as sacred as theirs, when in fact it's not the case. So the Muslims project this image if they go there and they give they put special meaning to these places when they should not. And this is what we're talking about here, brothers and sisters. Scholars say the evidence also indicates that it is haram for the Muslim to travel in Kafir lands in general. You heard me say this. This is consensus and it's still proved. Now, you can find fatwas today, and there's Muslim imams and some quote unquote Sunnah will tell you tourism is open. You go anywhere you want. You better go and research that, because it's not true. Because I'm giving you stuff here that you can research yourself. The evidence indicates that it's haram for the Muslim to travel to Kafir lands in general because of the evils that would affect the Muslim religious commitment and attitude. This is the consensus of our scholars say. Why they don't want you going to the Kafir countries. And we see this today. Look at the Muslims. Culminating to the great Sheikh Rahimullah, who's dead now in Saudi Arabia, who wrote a stinging fatwa saying, don't go there, period. Talking about America. Because of what this general fatwa was talking about. See, it's a serious matter. Because why? You say, well, why? Because we are supposed to protect the Ummah. This is the last great religion here, okay? And we're protected to Yom Kiyama. Every Muslim is supposed to protect it. We cannot protect it if we're starting to do things that's wrong, because we have Muslims today are very weak and they're doing things and it's really hurting the Ummah. But it's not going to destroy the Ummah, because we know that, because we know the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ. I won't get into that, but we know that this case can, we know that this case is prevalent, because the Prophet ﷺ talked about this, about what's going to happen with the weak Muslims. He said in this, and I'll stop at that part of it, he said that it'll be a day, he told the companions, that the Muslims will imitate the Christians and the Jews. We have that today. We have that today. Okay, paid no attention to religion and morals. When we go to things like this and to places in non-Muslim lands, the scholars notice this, that most of these non-Muslim countries don't pay attention to religious rights and so forth, and laws. Okay, they don't. And then the morals they don't care about, because that's just as you going down the street here to go to some eatery, there's a boy and a girl kissing there in the street. You see what I mean? And things like this. So we see this, especially when there is no need for him to travel. Now, if he's got medical treatment, that's different. That's approved. Medical treatment, going to have surgery, eye surgery, where you can't get this done in Muslim states, you can do this. This is nothing wrong with that. This is approved. Business approved again, and so on. Rather this, but just for leisure and fun, you prohibit it, brothers and sisters. You cannot do it. You see, because the scholars said that what ways, what your tourism, when you go to tourism in this way, what is the effect on your Islam? And it does have an effect. As said earlier, this kind of travel generally hinders the Muslim's ability to adhere to Islamic principles and tenets. You go to non-Muslim lands, there's no masjids. You don't hear the adhan. Islamic culture is not there. There's the Islamic etiquette is not there. You're in hostile territory. You have to dress and abide by the customs of the land of the disbelievers. And a lot of times that compromises your Islamic tenets. This is why we have difficulty when we do travel. But Muslims compensate for that by just throwing the Islamic tenets away and acting like disbelievers while in France or in the Netherlands or in Los Angeles. And that's bad. And when they do that, I don't know how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is going to judge them on Yom Kiyama. When you decided to throw those tenets out and stop to pray, stop to do this, you go to eat pork, you go to do that, you go to drink wine and beer, and so forth and so on. I don't know how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is going to judge you for this. He's not going to be kind. We know this. But I don't want to put myself in a position like that, brothers and sisters, to have that happen to me. Allah has made the Muslim land spacious. This is what the scholars are saying, because they're trying to get you away from wanting to go to Hollywood, or they want you to go to New York City to Fifth Avenue, or to go see the White House in Washington, D.C. He's saying here, many of the scholars saying, Allah has made the Muslim land spacious, and praises the place there were wonders of creation, so that there's no need to visit Kafirs, the Kafirs in their homeland. This is true, brothers and sisters. The 57 Muslim states, we have a lot of things here, and especially in Africa, we have wonders all over the place. And so, like me, I made a point. If I'm going to do anything, everything's going to be within Africa. I don't need to go to Europe. I don't want to go to Europe. I don't have no desire to go to Asia as well. Why should I need to? And definitely, I don't want to go to the West. Go out to America and stuff like this. We have so many places here in Africa. We have Muslim states here I want to go visit. I have meant to. I love to visit. To go visit the brothers in there. You see what I mean? Inshallah, I hope that happens. But if it doesn't, then subhanahu wa ta'ala wills that. But the scholars are making a point to say that the Muslim lands have all of this for you. So why you need to spend all this money to patronize the disbelievers, when that money can go to help another Muslim community? You see, like here in Morocco, I'll give you an example. I'm getting close here to prayer, and I'm close to finishing here. Here in Morocco, we have mountain communities, okay? And they are down and out. And they make beautiful rugs, brothers and sisters, okay? And they make beautiful, the Moroccan coats for winter, and they are very warm with the hoods, and they're long down to near your ankles. We have those in the mountain communities here in Morocco. And in the jalaba is what it's called. They're called jalaba. And these jalaba are heavy for the winter. They make those, and they're good, and they'll last you a long time. And they're made, to withstand weather and washing and so forth and so on. Now, you come here to patronize. You say, okay, I'm going to visit here. I want to visit my brothers here. And plus, I want to go buy some coats from the mountains. You just improved the living conditions of the brothers and sisters in the mountains, because you went there and you patronized these sisters who make these coats. You see? Or the brothers and sisters who make the big, beautiful rugs that you see in YouTube and in magazines, stuff like that. This is what we're talking about here. We have that here in Morocco. We got beautiful places like this and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I made a condition. I told my wife, and we're in a condition trying to get one. I want the jalaba for winter that's from the mountains, and I'm hoping this will get made here shortly. As noted, bars, streets of debauchery, like in New Orleans, laden with events and championed and heralded, meaning the whoredom and all the other stuff, are forbidden as a Muslim anywhere to visit. Even the Muslims who living in the United States are not to visit these sites. This prohibited, brothers and sisters. New Orleans, Pattaya there in Thailand, which is famous for this. I know there's a beautiful coastal city, very hot in Thailand. And the whoredom and stuff, and this out in the open there is off the charts. I went there way before I was a Muslim. As traveling for tourism, it is not permissible because the Muslim has no need of it. And this is what the scholars are saying. And it does not serve any interest that matches or outweighs the harm and danger to his religion. You have to balance that. These places can harm you. And if it harms you, and it's the balance to harm the religion is greater than the benefit, you cannot engage in it. This is what the scholars are saying, brothers and sisters. And this is the last of it here. So this is the fundamental Islamic concept of tourism. And subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best of all things. So I was long today, again, brothers and sisters, talking about the niyat and about the pursuit of something, but I had to bring this out to give you these conditions about traveling, because it's important, brothers and sisters. What you do with it is your business, and you have to account to subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. But this is an eye-opener for many Muslims, because they didn't know that there was conditions about traveling. They thought they could travel to the Netherlands, they go what they want. They decide they want to go visit and see Starbucks, or they wanted to go to this famous German coffee place, it was okay for them to do that. Now you learn it's not. Okay, it's not. Or you decide you want to go visit a famous masjid. This is your priority. You got a discount on an airplane ticket and a hotel, and you want to go visit this beautiful new masjid. Can't do it. It's a priority. That's wrong. You can't venerate a place like that. You can go there secondary, as we talked about, but primary, you cannot. This is what I'm talking about. The Muslim is governed by rules, and those rules are designed to protect you in your faith, and not to restrict you, but to protect you in your faith, because there's many things. Again, there's 57 Muslim states you can go to. You can come here to Morocco. Why would you need to go to Hollywood? To do what? You can come here to Morocco and you can go visit many different places. You can go to, and brothers, and you can have a brother, you can hire a brother, he can take you in a car. Now you help him and his family, and turn this man, who is helping this brother, now he goes to the store to buy food, and the store owner now has to buy more food, more food stock to put back in his place, because this brother now has more money in his pocket to buy for his family. You see the chain effect, and it helps the Muslim community. So you come into Morocco and you do the things here that you want. You come here and you visit the brothers, and you go to the masjid and you make your prayer, and you go visit the beautiful sites and go buy clothes and rugs. There's nothing wrong with that. You improve the Muslim Ummah when you do that, especially in the mountains, when you go patronize these sisters up there who make these beautiful jalala, the long coats that we wear here in Morocco in the winter, because it gets cold here. You'd be surprised how cold it gets, especially in the mountains. It snows. You'd be surprised how cold it gets here. And those coats come in handy. They're very, very warm. So brothers and sisters, I gave you those conditions. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best of all things. So I give you this, and you take it for what it's worth, and so forth and so on. And be guided by the Sharia in all your matters. All your matters, brothers and sisters. And many of us probably did not know these things. So now you do know. And pass this on to others, too, brothers and sisters, because Muslims are governed by the Sharia. And we have to maintain that. And our scholars have spoken. And now we are at a critical point in time in the Ummah where we have a lot of destruction in it. And a lot of destruction because the Muslims are leaving to go into non-Muslim lands. They're returning back to Muslims as non-Muslims, essentially. And you see what I said a couple of days ago, when what has happened with the famous scholar, what he said. They returned back to Saudi Arabia as evildoers after they had been in the United States. You see, many young men are doing this, not only in Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Algeria, the Gambia, Senegal. I mean, it's all over the place. The West has a negative influence upon us. And this is why we have to be very careful when we travel to it, and the reasons behind it. So brothers and sisters, I'm hoping that this helped you today. And I will continue on this in a couple of days, inshallah ta'ala. So I will leave you with the beautiful words of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.